Good morning, and I'm back from Puerto Vallarta. Looking forward to being with you this morning. We'll give you everybody just a couple of minutes to jump on live with us this morning. It's great to be home. There we go. Paul just joined us. Thanks, Paul. Give everybody an opportunity to jump on here and be with us live. Wasn't with you last Monday. Last Monday, I was on an airplane on the way to Puerto Vallarta for 6 days of just absolute relaxation. Oh my goodness, what a treat. So good to be back with all of you. It's good to be back in the United States. We are truly a blessed nation, truly a blessed nation. Well, obviously I didn't shave while I was down there, so Ramona calls me the salty seaman. I'm not sure I'm going to stick with this. It's tough enough to have gray hair up here, but everything down here is gray too. But I thought I'd try it for the fun of it. So here we are. So good morning. She says, if I do this, I look more like Hemingway. So maybe that's it. This week, I had the opportunity to finish Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules of Life. Highly recommend that you get a copy of that and listen to it. It's quite a chore to listen, because you really have to tune in and be present. Jordan is a psychologist, clinical psychologist, and one of the most articulate writers. I just love the way that he writes, and he also narrates the book, which is exceptional. You may have seen Jordan in some of the interviews, etc., on YouTube. But if you get a chance, read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life. Also been consuming Thanks for Being Late with Thomas Friedman. Thomas is a futurist, an optimist, and he spends the first 8 sections, which is a third of the book, talking about all the technological developments since 2006. It's quite alarming to hear it all in one, not sitting, but in one book, piece after piece after piece after piece, of how we're experiencing Moore's Law, which is things are used to double every year in terms of computing ability or space on a memory drive, etc. Now it's every couple of years. But think about that. The technology is doubling that fast. And the question is, for all of us this morning, where are we? Where are we? Are we resisting this technological advancement? He's talking about a company in India who created a tablet which functions much like a phone that they made for $50. Well, they wanted to do it for $50. It actually turned out being $30. $30. $30. Someone can connect to the internet. A child can have access to lectures from MIT, learn English, etc. It's amazing what's happening to the world technologically and how it's blending us all together. Our concern is always, okay, so we all blend together technologically, but how are we doing individually in terms of our habits of thinking? I also had the privilege this week, this is a great week, sitting on the beach, listening to great books, right? Getting massages on the beach. I mean, that's as cool as it gets, right? I also had the first draft of the audio for the Observer's Chair. Recorded it before I left. It was edited and a file was sent to me, and I was able to listen to it while I was down in Puerto Vallarta. We're probably about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks away from it being finalized, just a couple minor tweaks. Those will be done on Thursday. Then a couple things in preparation for the launch of the Observer's Chair as an audio book. Very excited to get this to you. But it really has driven home this concept that what is the benefit in all of us being woven together if we're all screwed up? It's not pandemic, but we all have challenges in our lives and a lot of toxic dialogue that is keeping us small and, frankly, from being able to participate in those things that are happening, participate fully. So I want to just review with you the principles in the Observer's Chair. I can tell you where the title came from. I was giving a speech to a real estate company, and it explaining something to them. And I went, it's like this. And I had 2 chairs brought up on the stage. And I said, this is the observer's chair. We're the observer of our habits of thinking. Metacognition, the gift uniquely given to human beings to be able to reflect on our own thinking and make those changes. And I said, here's the observer's chair. And I said, and there's that chair over there. That's the chair of our unhealthy habits of thinking. And it hit me. That's the name of the book. I was going to call it Healing Self-Esteem. It became the observer's chair. The question is, how much time are we spending in the observer's chair, whole and complete, totally available to serve, having our gifts of empathy and intuition, our common sense, our practical judgment, our very active minds that could be thinking about creative ideas that could ignite passion and drive action. How often are we accessing these parts of our thoughts here in the observer's chair? And how often do we get up, walk over and sit in that chair over there, have chains wrapped around us, that duct tape put over our mouth, and left paralyzed? Because our thoughts speak for us. Oh, it's all first person, but they speak for us. I think if we could get clear about this, that we have our true voice, and then we have the voice of our own habits of thinking. If we could separate ourselves from them, then we can begin to have an understanding, an awareness of where we are at any given time. Am I in my observer's chair, or am I in the chair of my own healthy habits of thinking? Well, let me just give you some indicators. If you're feeling overwhelmed, discouraged, frustrated, you're probably over there. If you're engaging in escape and avoid fantasy to get away from life, and life may be really challenging right now, but we're escaping that, probably over there. If we're spending time playing out worst case scenarios, worrying, if we're worrying, we're over there. If we're not finding joy in the journey, we're over there. If we're impatient and wanting things to happen faster, we're over there. You start to feel all of this? If we're resisting and resenting structure, we're over there. If we're resisting and resenting authority, we're over there. If we're needing to be right and crushing other people's self-esteem as a result, which is the result, we're over there. Here, we use our gift of vivid visualization to get inspired ideas that ignite passion and drive action. Here, we choose to live present in the now, taking the clay we've been given. I just thrilled going back and listening to that section. Taking the clay we've been given, and then creating the most we can with that clay, and celebrating, creating, celebrating, going into our mind for inspired ideas about how to do this more effectively, but not living in our minds. Now, entrepreneurial people have tremendous gifts of very active minds, vivid and effortless thinkers. But we just cannot afford to live there. We want to live in the one place where we touch the timeline of our life, that one place where we can actually create the physical reality that represents the dream that we've been having in our minds. So we see it clearly, inspires us, ignites our passion, drives our action, and we create and celebrate. And as a result, we feel so differently about ourselves. I wrote The Observer's Chair on October of 2012. We released Today I Begin a New Life in January of 2012. Now, the purpose for Today I Begin a New Life was to teach us all the principles, practices, and processes for having a healthy life. I didn't say a lot about self-esteem, but that's what it damaged. When we didn't connect with people and have conversations and step into their world and take down their walls of resistance, when we didn't use our mind constructively, when we didn't act in the now, those things negatively impacted our self-esteem. What was in September, I decided to write a paper on the topic of healing self-esteem, because that was the reason for Today I Begin a New Life, was to heal it, but all of the issues that caused it? What's behind it all? What creates this toxic dialogue? How can we shift these habits of thinking? What do we do? I hadn't answered those questions. So I started to write a paper, 1st of October. And a page turned into 2 and turned into 3 and 3 turned into 4, 4 turned into 5. And by the time we got to the end of the month, I had a book. And it was eventually called The Observer's Chair. I wanted it out by Christmas. Boy, is that a Herculean task. Wanted it out by Christmas because I knew that a significant number of entrepreneurial people have tremendous challenges in this area of thought. We question our worth and our worthiness. Sometimes we seek our value, intrinsic worth by what we do. Well, it's important that we do, but not that we get our value from our doing. You see the difference? Doing is critical. It requires action to create anything. And it does increase our value extrinsically, but our intrinsic worth is not based on anything. But so many entrepreneurs have qualifications for their worth. I'm only valuable if I earn this much money. I'm only valuable if I lose this much weight. I'm only valuable if. And you just go through how many ifs you have for all of this issue around this measurement called unconditional in the Habit Finder assessment. Way, way, way too many are playing the comparison game. We take the very best from 10 people and we build this composite person and we beat ourselves up for not stacking up. How is that possible? I love in Gordon Peterson's book, in one of the 12 rules, he talks about the fact that there's always somebody smarter or better. I mean, that's life. That's not what we focus on. We take what we have and create the most we can with it. I just love that concept in his book because it's an absolute coordination with what we teach. We want to be able to take our clay. We may not like it, and there may be problems with it. Our finances may be disarray. Our relationships may be really challenged right now. A lot of things could be going on, but it is what it is. That's what it is. And we focus on taking it, not accepting it, not giving in to it, not acquiescing. We choose to take it and create as much as we can with it. And when we focus on creating with it, two incredible things happen. One, we discover gifting we didn't even know we had. How could we have missed that? Well, because we were looking over there at their clay and his clay and her clay, and we wanted someone else to be someone else, somewhere else doing something different. We weren't looking, so we couldn't see. But all of a sudden, we began to embrace our own uniqueness, our own gifting. We start to see our life experiences as unique preparation for serving other people. We start to see this gifting differently. And we focus on us to be whole and complete. And then we bring ourselves to the service of another person and experience tremendous joy. If we're in the comparison, we're always less than. We're enough. We're simply enough. Just take that clay. I choose me. I choose my clay. It's important that we choose it. And then we begin the process of building and creating as much as we can with it. Third, we question our beliefs, our character, our faithfulness. And quite often because we demand perfection. Our mind does, at least. Perfection's impossible. In my faith, there was one perfect person, and he was only half human according to Scripture. But of the rest of the population, there hasn't been one yet, not one. But if a thought process requires us to be perfect to be valuable, we will always be less than. You get that? If our thought processes require us to be perfect, something no one has ever been, we will always be less than. We don't want to be less than. Third, we have ideas, strong ideas. And until now, most of us have only taken those ideas and either defended them, or yielded them to keep the peace. Totally new way of handling that. Can't wait for you to listen to The Observer's Chair, or about page 159, and Today I Begin a New Life, letting go of the need to be right and finding good in other people's ideas. We finally are not sacrificing our esteem to defend or yield to an idea. We're practicing metacognition. We're getting in the observer's chair. We're seeing somebody else's idea. It's not threatening our idea. It's just somebody else's idea. Find good in it. Verbalize it. Walls come down. Cooperation floods out. Tremendous change occurs. We don't need to be in defending or yielding any longer. Next is contribution. We question the value of our contribution. Too many who have unmet expectations, and they keep being unmet and unmet and unmet, start to believe that they have to work twice as hard as everybody else to get half as much. Just be with me on that for a moment. Do you ever feel like you need to work harder than the person next to you to get the same thing? Where does that come from? Where did this dialogue come that says you need to sacrifice your time, your energy, and even your well-being to serve everyone? Now, service is critical, but not out of obligatory energy. It's draining. It's exhausting. This feeling that I have to do it or I'm unworthy. No, it's not about doing it, I'm unworthy. It's doing it because I love the people. We want to examine these thought processes. And lastly, the area we call forgiveness. Too many are carrying burdens from past mistakes. It is time to learn how to take those burdens and set them aside, learn from them, use the experience to serve another person more effectively, but let go of the burden. We get into a place called shame. And I talk about this in the book. Shame is the difference between I feel bad about what I did, I feel bad about who I am. That's what shame is. I feel bad about who I am, not what I did. Well, yeah, if we did something horrible, then yeah, what I did was inappropriate. I'm going to do everything I can to seek forgiveness from those that I've injured, to pay restitution, to take that experience, learn from it, and bless the lives of other people. But I'm not going to let it destroy me. I am not a bad person. I did something bad. Very clear and important distinction. Because if we start to think that I'm a bad person, we can take that quite a ways, all the way to maybe not being here on the planet anymore. Not very helpful. Well, I enjoyed reading this weekend. I'm so excited for you to be able to read it. You know, when you write it and you read it, it's one thing. When you record it, you're not sure. But when you listen to the recording, I just knew this message was going to get to you. It's going to serve you. But for today, let's stop for a moment. Did I start this Monday feeling like a victim? Woe is me. Life is terrible. Could I ask you to consider setting that aside just for a little while and going and listening to someone and serving them? It's interesting that when we serve, it puts our own challenges in proper perspective. It helps us. Let us go use our life experiences and serve somebody today. Let's do it several times this week. Next, let's get some humor back in our lives. Maybe a funny movie. Just laughing. Ramona and I had so many times this week where we just spontaneous were laughing and laughing. It was such a beautiful time to bring laughter back into our lives. And third, let's make sure we're taking care of ourselves. I'm speaking to myself as well. This was the first time I can remember in a long time that I just totally shut off everything for a week and just totally stayed present with Ramona and our friends that were there and just being. I highly recommend that we do that on a more regular basis. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's rejuvenating. It's sharpening a saw so we can come back and be even more effective with our time. Well, thanks, everybody. Let's go serve somebody. Let's get some humor back in our lives. And let's make sure we take care of ourselves this week in terms of rest and nutrition and exercise. And we will see you in a week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.